Hello, world out there. Welcome to the That's How We Roll channel. Um, Today we have some very special guests from Questbook, but before we introduce them, I will introduce my co-host, Daniel. Daniel, how are you today?
I'm good. I got coffee and water, and I've had food, so I am good.
Yes, excellent, excellent. So many of you may not have heard of these fine fellows from New Zealand, but so in that case, let them introduce themselves. So, Jack and Dion from Questbook, introduce yourselves. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Jack. Hello, everyone.
And I'm Dion.
Lovely to see you all. Although we can't see anyone right now, but lovely to be here. Thank you for having us. We're just excited to be a part of this awesome stream. So,
Yeah.
Excellent.
Heck yeah.
So, Daniel, would you like to ask the first question?
Yeah, sure. So, Questbook, the company that is, of course, responsible for many, many games across New Zealand. Would you mind just telling us a bit about what Questbook is, the pitch, what you do, why you do it?
Yeah, sure. So, Questbook is a GM professional storyteller platform that we help storytellers become professional storytellers and connect them with players so they can become basically whatever they want in whatever capacity they want. So we find talented storytellers and help them using our platform to kind of grow and meet players and then hire them out to play games with those players. It's basically a GM hiring service, but one that we really focus on the storytellers, and they're kind of our focus for a lot of it is to make sure that they're supported in every way that we can.
Yeah, very cool. Kind of like an agency, but for GMs and DMs. That's very cool. It's a really cool service that's sort of spreading across, or already has spread through New Zealand. You see it everywhere, especially with a lot of events and things in Auckland, Wellington, but in Christchurch, smaller areas. So with Questbook, I mean, you all had a vision when you started, but why did you start Questbook? What was the drive specifically that kind of led you to sort of think, hey, we need to start this. This is like an avenue that I think is going to do well.
Yeah, I love that. I love go on, Dan.
So we originally started playing D&D together. So we're quite late to the tabletop role-playing party, as in 5e was our first edition for us. So that's sort of an example of how late to the game we kind of were. But Jack was our game master, did all the prep work, and we kind of got to the end of this campaign, and we sort of struggled to get our heads around the rules, work out what was going on, build some characters, and ran the Mines of Philandon, the basic starter set that everyone was playing at that point in time. And got to the end of that, and we're like, we feel like we're not getting the full experience. And during that time, we'd obviously, how do you play D&D? Oh, well, let's go online and watch some streams, and had sort of got to see just how good the experience could be compared to the experience that we were potentially having ourselves, and how much more talented I'd had a go at being a GM at that point as well. It's not just you, but how much more talented other GMs could be compared to what we could pull off ourselves. And so that was when we were like, there's a lot of work involved in this. There is a lot of skill involved in this. And this is something that we feel that game masters should be rewarded for, especially when they're running games not for their friend group. Because we've noticed that there's large groups of people out there just running games for the community, which we think is fantastic. But people should be able to, or there should be a platform or a way for people to be able to charge for that and to connect them paying players with paid GMs.
We even went out of our wider friend group being like, does anyone know how to play Dungeons and Dragons? Can anyone teach us how to play it? We were quite unfortunate that we didn't have that kind of lovely beginning where a friend turns to you and goes, "Hey, I know how to do this. Come along and it'd be fun." It was like us looking over this precipice at this kind of like wonderful world and being like, "How do we get there? Like I don't know how to get there. Do you know? No, we buy books. Both of us are reasonably dyslexic, so like buying a chunky book is like." I've done it a couple times, and that was one of the times that I did it. So yeah, those kind of like barriers for a lot of people, I think, are just too much to give it a go. For us, I guess we were like a bit driven. When we get like our sights set on something, we kind of just try and work it out as much as we can. But there was so many like those whole sessions where we were just sat around a rulebook working out how to grapple. Like, what happens when two players grapple each other? Like, all right, well, that's an hour gone. Like, and we didn't work it out. Like, well, I guess that's Dungeons and Dragons. I guess I don't know. Like, what is that? So, yeah,
trouble grappling with it.
Yeah, terrible.
We did finally pin it down.
Oh, God.
Mental athletics checks. There, right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of we saw that, and then we got to the end and was like, yeah, we understand it now, but like, wouldn't it have been wonderful if we could have dived straight into that? So that's kind of what we're trying to do at Questbook, is going, hey, you don't have to know anyone, you don't have to even know what Dungeons and Dragons is. There's been sometimes at like conventions and stuff where we literally just go to someone and be like, come and join a game. And they would literally have no previous knowledge and then come out smiling. And it's stuff like that. We really try and make it as kind of beginner friendly as possible, because we've been there. I think we've all been there, right? So of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when you start. If you start, it's going to be a daunting task. But it's a lot of things that just aren't really expressed to a lot of people, that you don't need to know all the rules. In fact, when you've been playing for a long time, you don't need to know all the rules. The rule book is there, and also you can change the rules on the fly if you're the DM or the GM, just slightly. You can even just say, for the brevity of this game being smooth, we're just going to go with whatever you just said right there. That's fine. It doesn't seem broken, so we'll revisit it at the end of the game. But for now, this is how it works. It's fine. It's fine. And of course, this leads me to just after this question, we are then going to go to some questions in the chat. But this question here is actually a point of not necessarily contention, but a pretty hot topic right now in the D&D community, including the educational communities. Is, do you think that like tabletop and D&D should be taught in schools, or at least as some kind of optional piece, be it in a drama capacity or possibly an English capacity? What do you think?
Yeah, one of our mentors has a quote where basically in the future we'll look back up at how we do things now, and we'll smile nervously, and I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to be looking back, like in the future, we're going to look back up like how we're having this conversation now and be like, why did we even not consider having this a part of all of these different industries, because it's so powerful. And I think it's only a matter of time, basically. I mean, we've personally been working with all sorts of different organizations that have started to consider Dungeons and Dragons, or role playing in general, actually, just like a really rich resource to be able to give people different experiences and different ways of understanding things, exploring things. We're currently working with Auckland Council at a library to work with a world building, creative writing, and we're creating a world building discussion that we're going to get one of our storytellers in, and they're going to talk about what it is to build a world in a tabletop role-playing game. And that's just like one example of many different ways. Like you say, drama, I think it can go into anything. I think you can tell history through actually being there like on the day and role playing the people that were doing the things in history. Like,
and I think it has practical, like just pure practical skill benefits, I mean, basic addition through D&D. I mean, you think about, just adding your modifiers, rolling your dice, a basic understanding of probability. How likely is this to succeed? Oh, yeah, like I've got a +7. And so, yeah, more often than not, I'm going to get over the 10 I need. Or, there's a lot of that sort of stuff that goes in that is not forefront in your mind, but that you just continuously, subconsciously do throughout a game that is so beneficial for youth development. And then again, those social interactions, you're able to play out various encounters without real world consequences from them. And, for school kids and for teenagers, that's a really great way of working through various different issues or role playing different scenarios and seeing how they feel about them. And so I think that there's lots of benefits to be had there, both at a practical skill level and just because it is really fun and it is a great social activity that, it lets someone who is more nervous, who's not a great public speaker, play the face of the party and succeed at that because, the dice decide whether that works or not. And over time, they will get more comfortable talking on behalf of the party and being that face. So, at the beginning, they say, I try and persuade the guard to let us do this. And by the end, they're role-playing that. They are just persuading the guard and, still rolling the dice. But it lets them ease themselves into those interactions and things like that. And I think that it's just so beneficial that it can't not be done going forward.
Yeah, there's just great people doing some great work as well. Like, just incredible stuff. Like, even just the organizations that I know in New Zealand across, I highly recommend. If anyone's thinking about it, there are some incredible organizations already doing stuff like this. But bringing it into, I guess, like the mainstream of like education, I think will happen. And that's kind of, I guess, like you need a structure, kind of like Questbook, some like a kind of like a, I don't know, a trusted organization to be able to bring that service. So we've always kind of gone, well, although we're not doing anything in education, we're not aiming for that. Like, we're building a really strong team of storytellers, really talented team of storytellers, and any section can draw from that resource. So matter of time. It just needs to go up to the top, right? Like, it may be different in other places in the world, but here in New Zealand, I feel like it's kind of just convincing a certain amount of people, and then that trickles down.
Yeah, you got to have the ear of the right people, absolutely. And I can say that if I had D&D when I was growing up in school, I would have paid much more attention.
Yes.
So maybe Daniel, we'd take it in turns asking chat questions. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. You go first.
Okay, sure. So this is a bit of most of these questions come from Lee. Hey, Lee, a wonderful player on Misfits. And of course he asks, do you watch our Misfits of Alceta?
I do, yeah. You certainly do, yeah. So I've tuned in as much as I can. I've seen some crazy stuff. Every single time I tune in, it's like, just you guys laughing, just like I'll like see you guys just cracking up, and then
we laugh a lot.
Have to go back. Yeah, I absolutely loved. I mean, being able to see the stream and then see I'm in the Discord as well and see people enjoy it and talk about it and like the jokes and the meta jokes going on, like the terrible horse that kind of like started it all.
Oh god.
Thanks, Lee.
I like seeing the process of that.
The trauma, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's wild to us that we're still a small stream and we actually have like fans. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you in any active games outside of Questbook? If so, what game and class? And then, of course, that comes from Lee.
Hey.
I haven't been a player in so long, but I am his GM. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're running Cthulhu at the moment. Just a little foyer into that. Which has been really cool. We jumped into a Cthulhu game over lockdown, and it was incredible. It was over Discord, and yeah, like people say like online games are like, oh, I only like playing in person, but this online game in particular just took us all away because it was like you're there with the headphones in, the GM was running the sounds and putting up the information on the screen, and it was like just a really mesmerizing game to play, and so we're jumping back into it.
And he did a fantastic job in that it wasn't moving minis around on screen. It was a lot of theater of the mind, but everything was just fantastic visual aids popping up, the letters, the photos, and for us just, again, during lockdown when you don't really have anything else to do, that was just such a captivating way to spend it. And then we've also got a D&D Curse of Strahd campaign going at the moment that I'm running for Friend Group. That campaign we originally started a different one, and that was during the first lockdown in 2020 for New Zealand. So we started it on Roll20, and then as soon as we got out of lockdown, we've moved to in-person. The usual, some people have left the campaign, some people have joined, and with the current group, we've now dived into, Curse of Strahd. So Jack plays a weird amalgamation. What are you?
I don't even know. I think I'm an Asmar druid gunslinger. But basically my whole goal, we're saying this on stream. Hopefully none of our players are watching. Dion knows, but basically I just want to be a cat and I want to have a gun mounted to my back and I want to be able to shoot Strahd. That's my end game. So
I'd
has
that.
Very specific demands as a player, and
I'm going to crawl in.
Work with them.
So I spent all my money at a leather work the other day, just trying to get this commissioned mechanical thing,
like holster thing on your back.
Pull it from my mouth, or go like this as a cat. I don't know. They haven't been back, so I don't know if they quite understood it. But
you'll find that one out. I think in the next session that we play is when you were planning on going back to Valaki, so they'll work that one out then.
My hundreds of gold have gone to building. When you
think about it, it's like the hobbies, right? Hundreds of our gold goes into buying minis and various other things. You just have to go to
that's so cool.
holster for a giant gun on your back. As a cat. Yeah.
It's going to be really awkward when he goes to fire it for the first time, rolls a 1 and shoots the cat in the back of the head.
Kitty!
No, it's okay. The cat's got 9 lives.
That's true. No,
exactly.
Automatic resurrection spell. Vroom, vroom. Another question from Lee. Would you ever want to run a Questbook GM'd one-shot for our channel ever? I guess that means advertising it on Questbook and getting players from the Questbook community, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when you guys came to us asking if we wanted to partner up, it's always been yes. Like, it's always been such an awesome opportunity. So that's not something that we haven't thought of before. Yeah. We're really leaving it into your guys' hands as well. Like, come and get an interview. To
be honest, I actually thought this was going to be a game originally, and I was much more nervous about that because I've seen the quality of the voice out. And I was like, it's going to be my voice. Then it's an interview. I was like, oh, great, it definitely will be my voice then. Yeah. So that was a lot less scary. But we'd definitely be open to that.
Yeah.
We will talk off stream.
If you want a point of contention for if it's your voice or not, just remember that on Critical Role, Scanlan, Shorthold, is Sam Riegel's voice. It's not
he is Sam Riegel.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's just so it's fine. You don't need to put a voice on. You just need to be having fun. Exactly. That's the big thing. People want to come along and see have fun with friends.
I'll put a voice on though. I always give it a go.
Hello, I'm P. Sherman.
I won't do it now. You have to tune in for the Questbook GM. See that. There we go.
Yep. There it is. Okay, so shall I ask the next one? Next question.
Go for it.
Woo.
Go for it.
All right. Since the lion's share of our views are in the States, do you have any partnerships or plans to work with anyone just in the States at all? Like, just did you have anyone in that your last talked about that you kind of like,
Yeah, that would be fun to work with, maybe, possibly, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like recently we were working with Paramount to try and advertise the D&D game. So that was really cool, and it was cool to find out what the different stages of that are. So we were pitching them ideas that were then going to LA, I think it was. And that was really exciting for us to be able to kind of like to kind of reach that far out with just some ideas that we come up with and we could probably make happen. So that's probably the closest we've been to working with people overseas. But I think the cool thing is that with us being in New Zealand, our time zone is perfect for people in America. So, for instance, we have GMs here that I think for like around this time.
Yep.
This time is your hello, American people. This time is your evening. I don't know if you've realized that yet, but so we've got our professional storytellers can run games now for people overseas, and then have a game also in the evening for us. So so it just works out really well to be able to have where we are. That is, it's almost like you're getting a really fresh storyteller, not like rushing home after work or whatever they need to do. You're like, they're here ready to run a game for you.
Yeah, and as part of like our long-term goal of having people, our dream is that one of our storytellers will come to us one day and say, hey, just so you know, like, it's my full-time gig now. This is all I'm doing. And to be able to have games scheduled during the normal work day at a convenient time for players overseas is just so fantastic, in our minds anyway, because it means that you can still have like a normal life outside of Questbook as well, while also running games for people at the time that they usually would want to play them.
But yeah, if anyone's interested in I don't know. I mean, there's some really awesome stuff happening in America and overseas as well. Like, we're just here having like creating this kind of like this perfect little company, and it's really just it gets built by the people that come and have a chat to us, like you guys, like all of these other people that have come.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, and so for whoever asked that question, if they are interested in doing anything with us, then by all means reach out. Like we are always open to stuff like that. We just take it on a case by case basis.
Yeah, that's a very good point about the time zone, because I'm in Australia and that's only 2 hours. Well, at the moment, 2 hours behind New Zealand. So it's like perfect for engaging with people in the States. I find it a lot harder to engage with people in Europe and Britain because of the time zone doesn't really line up unless it's evening here. But that's another that's another topic of conversation. Let's go to another question. Does Questbook? I think I know the answer to this one, but does Questbook run any LARP sessions?
We have, yeah, we do. So we've got some really incredible storytellers that have recently come on board that are originally, not originally. I mean, they just do everything, right? And one part of them is they're really a big part of the LARPing community over here. So they pitched the idea of running a LARP, and we've got a really great partnership with Spookers, which is a horror house here in Auckland. So we managed to run a horror-themed LARP out of a horror house, and it went amazingly. It went really well. It was the first time that I actually LARPed before. I've always wanted to, but it's never kind of like come up, and this was the first time that I got to do it, and it is another world, completely another world. I just fell in love with it, but yeah, so that's something that's definitely more on the horizon. Now that we've gone, okay, well, we're literally transitioning people now from going, hey, grabbing you that you've never literally heard of Dungeons & Dragons or tabletop role-playing games. You fall in love with tabletop role-playing games, and now we're going, hey, here is this LARP. Try this out. This is like the next step down the line. Give that a go. So it's kind of like this wild thing where we're like taking people on this awesome ride, and we're like each step of the way we're kind of going, hey, we've got you. This is
there's like one more layer of immersion. To go. Like just try this next thing.
Yeah, but it's just yeah, it was that new feeling for me, at least, of like when I first kind of understood tabletop role playing games. It was that again, at the LARP, being like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but then it just kind of clicks, and you're like, wow, like the possibilities of LARP is something really exciting as well. Like the ability to have, what was there? Like we had 40 people, no, 30 people, all running around, creating their own stories, and literally the SDs were just standing there, like having a chat with someone if they wanted to, and it was just like we're literally creating a story ourselves now. We've been given the tools to be able to not even have someone kind of like explain anything. So
and I think it creates that perfect moment that, you know, a GM or a storyteller is always striving toward, where they can just sit there and watch their players like have an actual in-character conversation around the fire and start to do world building of their own. And you're just like, that's what you aspire toward, and that is what LARPing is in general. So
it was wonderful.
I think that's really awesome.
They literally, the one that we did, it was very kind of like drama based. Like there wasn't too much fighting or anything, but they literally went, whatever you guys want to do, there are no rules here. Like you can spin whatever tale you want. So I actually brought some jewels that we use for our events, and I was giving them out and trading them and saying, "Oh, here's like an heirloom from my deceased father," and then and I was getting some good trades with that. We're royal families, kind of like selling children off, not selling children off,
selling children off, yeah.
Like marriages between the houses.
Yeah.
Arranged marriages.
But the cool thing is that then later on in the LARP, I had people coming and be like, who was this heirloom for? Like, this is really important to us, and we're going to trade it with this other person. And it was just like spiraled. And I think that was a really cool moment where it was just like, wow, like that kind of like storytelling feeds out when you let people loose on something like that. So yeah.
So that's the question. Yes.
Yeah, that's a really cool question. I really enjoyed that.
It's live storytelling.
Yeah.
Right. It's completely. I mean, that's how a lot of the best stories are told. And hey, to put it in perspective, a lot of shows that come out and books are based on tabletop or LARP. It just happened, and Terry Pratchett did it all the time. A bit of a small story. Terry Pratchett was actually part of something called the SCA, a Society for Creative Anachronism, which you may have heard of, which is worldwide. Big. It's not exactly LARP. It's like how would I put it? It's like recreational, but not medieval. It's more to period, but not. Anyway, it's not recreating stuff, but it's period. And with that, you know, like he just run D&D for people on the SCA or role playing games. He actually kind of made his own like Discworld thing, and that's kind of, you know, he'd write some of those characters into his book that other people had in his game, from my understanding. So it does happen like all across. You see like actors as well. You know, a lot of actors are coming out the woodwork because it's cool now to say, so I play D&D.
Yeah.
You know, like I play it all the time. It just helps me limber up my acting and I enjoy it. So I mean, like it's huge. It's huge.
It comes back to the education question that you had, right? The fact that like, okay, so here is an incredible source of creativity. What if we put that just at the beginning of kind of people's education, rather than like finding out about it when you leave school? Like, come here and then experience that and let that kind of inform like that creative journey.
Exactly.
Yeah, people are like you said, people are using it to create all sorts of stuff. And it's wild. Yeah, like you said, people coming out of the woodworks being like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense now why that certain thing was created that way.
Yeah, I mean, so many things that are inspired by D&D. I mean, obviously D&D was inspired by Lord of the Rings, but you know, you got like Final Fantasy, for instance. Final Fantasy, a lot of the creatures, D&D, D&D creatures. They even had to rename some of them. The exact same thing that D&D had to do when you know they first came up with the Halfling, and so on. So you know, there's so much direct inspiration, and that just trickles down, as you say, like a waterfall. Keeps going to a ton of creatives that are just making original content based on the stuff they love. And whether it be LARP, whether it be tabletop, books, movies, whatever. I mean, it's this industry that we're in, this like creative bump, if you will, is just a wholesale, respectively, taking and improving on ideas that are already there, which is really cool to see.
One thing I do love is the fact that like you have people that have said like the lie that people tell themselves that I'm not creative, and then you introduce them to this, and it kind of like tricks them almost. Oh, I'm not creative, but I'll play this game. And
gives them a set of rules within which to be very creative.
I'm not creative, and then all of a sudden they are creating, and it's I think a really gateway into realizing that everyone is creative. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I get like we're getting. I'll go on about this. If you got another question, then
it's an interview. We can do what we want. Go on about it. If it's interesting, it's good. That's basically how it goes. Like an interview is like we can ask questions, but we don't have like, oh man, we have to ask 10 or so questions, and if we don't, we fail. It's like, nah, if this is a bomb question that's amazing, goes for 15 minutes, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's one of them. It's one of those interviews. So
quality, not quantity, my friends.
So yeah, I mean, like, actually, yeah. Here's a good question for you. Obviously, most of us, I don't want to say all of us, but most of us have seen probably one of the first proper good adaptions of D&D to screen. What are your thoughts? Like,
my
the other ones were all
God.
right. But they were very like they didn't focus on meta, right? They didn't focus on the meta like narrative. They just went, no, these are characters in who are in Faerun just living their lives.
I loved it. We watched it. We watched it twice in 2 days because we had the like New Zealand premiere for that, which we did with Paramount, and then the very next day, as a thank you, that organised for all the Questbook people that we could track down to come along and watch it as well. And so we basically got to sort of see it twice in quick succession, and it was still just as enjoyable on run through number 2 as it was the first time, because you then had a bit more time to relax and be like, okay, where are all these other in jokes that I know I missed the first time around? But I was saying it's kind of like how they do how Disney does movies, right, where they have a joke that is funny for the kids and the adults are like, that was inappropriate and that's why it's funny. It was that, but for people who know about D&D or don't. So it's like, oh yeah, that was funny. And then like when the intellect devourers walk past, and then you're like, oh no, that was a dump stat. Like that's why it was funny. So it was like that sort of a moment that was very like they did a movie that stands on its own, but if you have the understanding of someone who's played D&D or is in that community, you're like, this is actually twice as funny as everyone else thought. For me, the rope throwing moment, without going into more detail, but like let's tie a rope to an axe and throw it. I was just like, every single player tries that in a game, no matter what, when they're confronted with the situation. Yeah.
Just my favorite joke out of everything is the walk, just the slow walk. Oh, I could watch that on repeat. Just
in
a
straight
line. Yeah, is he going to go over the rock? Is he going to go around it?
The timing of it is just so good, because at the point where everyone's like, "Oh, this shot's going on for quite a while," and then you hear them talking about it, and then it's a thing, and you're like, oh, like
it's like New Zealand humor, right there. That's like New Zealand style humor.
It really was,
yeah. I mean, the whole. I mean, obviously, don't have to spell it out, but it's because he's just such a straight and narrow character that they just like. Straight and narrow, huh?
Yeah. I could even hear the players in that moment being like, "Oh, are you just gonna keep on walking?" And the players like, "Yeah, I can keep on walking." And then there's a rock there. And they're like, "Yeah, no, I walk over the rock." It's like that was happening in my head quite a few times.
You could just hear the player going to the DM like, "I walk straight away from them 30 feet around. Like that's just what I do." And then just carry on. I walk straight. I'm taking the straight line. It was brilliant.
So. Geez, they did it.
They did it. Like we were all like going, the trailers look good, but I mean, I've been burned before.
Oh, I've been burned.
They did it. They actually did a good attack. Oh, anyway, I'm gushing now. But Next question, actually, this is more of a lighthearted one, but basically, like, what if you were to just like play a level 5, character, straight off the bat, what class would it be, and why is it Hexblade Warlock?
Well, yeah.
You go first with whatever you come up with, and I'll do what I normally do, which is then like make a character that works in conjunction with it.
Yeah. So we the cool thing about having this service is that we get to be in a lot of games with a lot of storytellers. So the way that storytellers kind of like join Questbook is that we have like this fun 2-hour game. 2 hours, an hour. Yeah. We don't really have like too many parameters. We just want to see them play. But it does mean that we get to create some really cool characters and then just like play around with them. So usually, I mean, like I love druids. I just love druids. I just love having spells that don't do damage because I don't really worry about combat that often. Do fun stuff like mold earth or just create rose petals as I do something or as the team does something. Like that stuff is really cool to me. Turning into so I usually do that, and I also love kind of like multi-classing into something else. So it's usually like a druid and then maybe like a warlock or something, so I can do something cool with the druid. So that's usually my kind of like my go-to, like a core druid and then whatever flavor. I've done like I like Warforged druids. I like the idea of like being kind of like a what are they called? A transformer.
A transformer. Yeah. Yeah.
Or then just like the relationship of a robot and nature. And like I think I had one with like like his head had a flower in it, like a terrarium was his head kind of thing. And I don't know. I love stuff like that. So if I think that was the question. What would you play if you were a level 5? I'd play a druid, something.
Something.
And then obviously we need some damage. So where's the damage going to come from?
Yeah. So when we play, and this has happened, there will be a combat encounter. His character goes off to do something else and just kind of leaves my character, whatever it happens to be, to deal with it. So it could be a glass cannon wizard, and he'll still leave my character alone to deal with the threat while he investigates something that was mentioned before combat was started. So that I tend to have to build some not overly optimized, but relatively optimized characters. So the last one I did was which I found really fun and would like to play again or incorporate as a NPC for these guys to deal with, was a sorcerer. It was the Aberrant Mind, I think it was. It was a Shadow Kai. So that's like that sort of a spin on the elves. Yeah, and I found that really fun to play. And just mechanically, it was quite. The telepathy element of it alone was actually just quite fun to role play, being able to shove like jibe or comments into conversation without the NPCs hearing it, or vice versa, with Jack having to pretend that he's not heard it while I insult him to an NPC. So just little elements like that were quite fun to play, role playing wise. So I really enjoyed that one, and we'd probably give it another go.
Yeah.
If I got to do higher level, then I would break up the wizard that I retired like 5 years ago, and get to actually play him again, and that would be very exciting. Yeah. Now that he's finally got some spicy spells.
I feel like Dylan's like a wizard name.
Like, yeah, I am a wizard name.
Like that,
absolutely.
I mean, most DMs tend to be.
It's the appeal for me of like hard work of studying pays off with unimaginable power. I mean that is my daily life, is what I kind of aspire towards. So that's kind of what I'm going for.
Classic lawyer.
Yeah, classic lawyer.
Hey, well noted. If that might be a game in the future. But yeah, Damien. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to paraphrase a question that's come up in the chat there. How do we all get free return tickets to New Zealand?
Just send an email.
we cannot sort that
Okay.
out. We do not.
I'll make it happen. Whoever you are, you come to New Zealand. No matter what.
it's only like 5. If you bring the whole Misfits crew, it's only like 5 US and me. So it's
Fine.
peanuts.
Yeah.
Peanuts in this economy where it flies at twice as much as anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's unfortunately with where we are, we do tend to have some of the most expensive flight tickets in the world to get down here. But
Yeah.
if any viewers do manage to make it down here, then by all means let us know. We'll get you along to some of our events. We have events in Auckland every week. So there's always something going on. So yeah, if you do make your way down here, reach out and we'll sort something out. We're definitely keen to meet players from all around the world.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, well, it's good to know.
And just email Chris, info@questbook.nz and I'll get you the tickets. Don't worry about that.
They'll pay for your flights and everything, like all of it. Just, free expense. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
No, I've literally got that email up right now.
And
We're now a travel agency.
I might just jump in with my own question quickly, and then Daniel can ask another one. How do you go about shortlisting DMs or GMs, or do you rely on people to email you? Do you reach out to people to be GMs? I mean, can they? Say what's your email address again, so people can email if they're interested.
info@questbook.nz.
Right, there we go.
You got that right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess
the process. So sometimes people reach out to us. So every now and then we'll put calls out saying, "Hey, we're needing some more GMs in this location," or just general looking for GMs, and people will flick emails or Facebook messages through to us. Other times we've specifically approached people where they've kind of popped up on our radar and we're like, wow, that's amazing. So we reached out to them. So it's very fluid process. And yeah, as Jack says, I mean, the main process for us is just doing a bit of a vibe check, assessing like what your play style is as a GM. Do we think this is going to be fun? Is this going to offer what we want to be able to offer to any of our players? And then also we have like a general background check process as well that we have to go through, especially because in New Zealand, like we're wanting to have our GMs be available to work with kids, so we want to be able to make that as safe as possible.
Yeah, it's really that. Good. Like referrals are really good as well.
Yeah.
Like when we first started Questbook, like that's literally how it started. I basically stood up in front of a live D&D show. And I went, "Hey guys, my name is Jack. I'm thinking of creating this kind of service. If anyone wants to join, come chat to me afterwards." And from that, basically, someone went, "Oh, like my friend is interested." And then that person was an amazing storyteller. And then they went, "You know what? I love what you guys are doing. This other person is really cool." So referrals are really great as well, because we're basically looking for the the person rather than the skills. We've had people that are quite new to Dungeons and Dragons or anything, and that's why we're here. We're here to help people become professional storytellers. So we'll put them a part of we'll put them into our events. So we've got like a nice safe space for them. It's a 2-hour game. You'll have people there, we'll be there, and they can slowly learn that as well. So saying that we're a professional storyteller service doesn't mean that you have to be a professional storyteller straight off the bat. That's why we're here, is to help people. It's more like, do you want to be a professional storyteller is the question we usually ask. What do you want out of Questbook? I think that's what I ask. Like that's the main question I ask all of our storytellers, because every storyteller wants something different as well. So knowing that and accommodating for that is really important, and it allows us to grow Questbook as a service. Say someone really would love to link their incredible artwork with their storytelling. Looking at someone, say someone would like to do that. They're an incredible artist and they want to link storytelling with their artistry. hey, let's create that service. Let's make that happen for you. Because we can do that. So that's the main thing. It's really just the person. Are they a nice person? And then are they driven? Do they want something out of Questbook rather than being passive? Do they want to do something? So yeah, those are the things. We try and at the moment we're trying to just take things like step by step. We could like open the floodgates, and I think we were talking about this earlier, like open the floodgates and get overwhelmed and be like, oh my God, we signed up all these storytellers and we don't know what to do. We can't give anyone any attention. So that's the thing that we do. We do kind of go, hey, not now, but later.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for us is we still want to have the resources where we can support our GMs in the way that we have said we will. So we never want to get to the point where basically, you're just another GM and a big long list of them, and we're not there. Like our goal is to be able to focus on a core group of GMs and really support them in growing their business as a professional storyteller.
Because also the cool thing is, like, if you focus on the storyteller, they're going to become incredible storytellers, and then the players are just going to have incredible games. Like it's the way that in our minds at least makes the most sense. We don't have to focus on the players that much. Obviously we do. Obviously we make it like all sorts of different processes as easy as we can for them. But the service is the storyteller, and we try and help that service become the best that it can be.
Yeah.
I don't know where that question came. What was even the question? I gotta remember.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I do have a question. That's
that's the process.
A bit left field, but I mean, you have the storytellers. You have people coming along to events. Have you ever thought about running a stage event?
Yes. But we know that stage events, streaming, they're all like, you guys put so much effort into this stream that we know how much work goes into each one of those things. So we're not kidding ourselves thinking, oh yeah, well, we've got the storytellers, like, we could just do that. We know, like, I've seen and we understand how much time and effort goes into doing a really, like, everything that we do at Questbook, we want to do well. We don't want to just kind of like, we can make it happen. So what we tend to do is, and what we've said to people that have come to us is, like, we will support you as much as we can. If a storyteller or an organization wants to do a stage event, if they want to do a stream, for instance, this one, we will be there. But for us to kind of focus on something like that, we'll divert our attention away from our core kind of like purpose.
And I think that the other big thing is just that there is already so many talented people operating in that space that for us, things like partnering with streams makes much more sense than us trying to do them ourselves, because it's not where our skill set lies. And so, to do that, we would be just basically putting ourselves into an already quite like competitive space where we don't see ourselves necessarily offering massive extra value there. And so that's kind of part of it as well.
We know. We know what we're good at. We basically know what we're good at, and this is kind of what we're good at.
Or at least what we think we're good at.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
No, it's great. It's good to scope it and make sure, because like that, again, affirming what you said before is that you are focusing on the storytellers, making sure that the core is good. And to me, that basically just means, as you say, if someone wanted to really do that and they seem driven, you probably end up helping, but you wouldn't be the driving force they would be.
Correct.
We call it like champions. Sometimes we have that's kind of like an idea. So we you have a storyteller that champions an idea, and then we build around that champion, and they kind of like drive it. It's kind of the system that we have for stuff like that. But I've heard some really cool ideas from some of our storytellers about that, like all sorts of different ideas around that, because it's such a fertile ground. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Maybe one day.
So you just got the ideas, people come along, then hey, there you go. Got a question from the chat here. How did you and Daniel come together? Daniel being me.
Oh,
Hopefully.
I think that's a better question for you, then, if anything.
Sure, yeah. If you want me to answer it, half answer it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, basically, you know, I had more than a couple friends, basically say, hey, there's a service you might want to join. At the time, you know, I was really busy, but I kept note of it in my head. I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah, like a DMF, cool. You know, when I have more time. And it kept just coming up. So eventually I did, reach out. And then, I remember just being like, sending, I guess, all my credentials. Like, I was like, I'm a storyteller, but also I do art, but also I do voiceover, but also whatever the heck. And then y'all were like, that's cool. You want to play a game? And we're like, yep. So we played a game, and then the rest was history. We're just like, okay, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's how we kind of joined. It was word of mouth, essentially. It was word of mouth from a few friends. Saying that the service was indeed an active one that was still going, still strong, growing, which I'd heard about for the last like year and a half, I think, at that point. Yeah. Just didn't have time for it.
That word of mouth is really, really powerful for us. Because I always believe that you put kind of like an ethos or like your kind of values out, and that will attract people in. And that's kind of a really nice way of us finding the right people, is that we don't search them. We be who we are, and we be who we are.
Yeah.
We be who we are. And
that's exactly.
And there's people like yourself, when they're ready, come and get in contact. And obviously we knew about you. It was kind of cool getting you messaging through, because just being a part of the kind of like community, you get to know people quite well.
Yeah,
so, it's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it was really cool. On that, like, you know, putting out just that kind of ethos to say, 100%. I mean, a lot of entities think it's advertising that they need to do, which helps. But it's actually just being really passionate about what you do, and just putting it out there all the time. Just being passionate about it, not saying anything like da 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 da, and I want to make money. It's more like da 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 da. I'm really passionate about this. I love doing this. This is awesome, and it will come to you if you need it or want it, based on just being really vocal about it all the time. It's almost like its own type of advertising. It's just really organic. Go to
there
events,
isn't a single person in my firm who doesn't know what I do in my spare time.
yeah. No, exactly. Just the vocal is really important, because a lot of creatives just kind of go like, oh, I'll put a little something out. Oh, is that too much? No, it's not too much. Like, it's only too much when someone tells you it's too much. Right, like you put it out there. You put it out there. Maybe you start to recognize patterns and be like, okay, maybe I'll put it out like once a week, or in certain areas. I won't do it too much, but that's how you do it. You're just really, really excited about what you do, and it's genuine. It has to be genuine.
I think that's how some of our best partnerships have cropped up with various game stores and things like that. It's just like we've met them at an event or they've seen something posted and they like the look of that, and they've reached out to us, and it's just two like minds meeting, and you're like, actually, you guys are equally as passionate about creating an awesome tabletop role-playing community, and yes, no, absolutely, let's try and come up with something we can do together to grow that, both for our GMs and at your venue, and it's sort of, that's how most of our partnerships like that have cropped up over the years.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we've done some really cool stuff. We've done like just all sorts of like working with nature. We worked with a nature reserve.
I think that was one of the coolest things we've done was with Zealandia, which is a nature reserve down in Wellington.
And our storytellers down there did an incredible job building this whole experience where you would walk through the nature reserve and you would come across a storyteller, and that storyteller would like, come over here, and then you would play out a short scene. trying to save the nature reserve, and then you would go, okay, well now you need to go off, and you would travel through the nature reserve, and then there'd be another storyteller in the middle of this gorgeous reserve, and then you would continue the story on, and we had teams rotating around as they went.
The Wellington team just such a fantastic job on that. It was
really
awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that is it's usually the people that we communicate with in organizations. They're either one of two things. They're really passionate and they know exactly. They're like they play tabletop role playing games. They're kind of like they know how cool this is going to be, and they're like, we want you guys in to make this happen for the organization. Or they're people that have no idea. They're like, hey, I'm the events coordinator. I have no idea what Dungeons and Dragons is, but I've heard amazing things. And
someone told me I have to do an event that involves it.
Yeah. So come and help me because I have no idea what we're doing, but it sounds like something that we would love to do. So yeah, it's kind of really cool. Yeah, that like we keep on saying, that kind of like magnetism that you get.
And some organizations, like they'll come along and you'll have the person who has been told to do it, and they'll rope someone in, not from their department, but just from a random person. They've obviously sent a company-wide email. Hey, does anyone play D&D? Like, I need help in this meeting that I'm having. And then they'll bring them along to the meeting, and you're like, oh, you're the token D&D player here at the meeting to sort of translate for us? Yep, okay, cool, right. Just carry on with that.
The Paramount one, right? We met with that team, and there was literally a translator. Like there was like at the end of the table, we would say something kind of nerdy or like be like, yeah, that's cool, and they would like turn around, and then he would kind of just like
he would laugh, and they were like, oh, okay, that was a funny
that could happen. Right. Yeah. So that was
which actually goes to show how seriously they took that film, because they made sure they had someone going along to all these things who actually knew the community and knew
from the get-go the New Zealand team.
They were awesome to deal with.
Yeah, they were super passionate. We had some really cool ideas that we were going to do, and they were all for it. So there's a sequel. Maybe we can do another one.
I know.
Maybe we can do some.
It was greenlit.
But yeah, really cool.
I've heard rumors of Drizzt and stuff and all this kind of crazy.
I saw that in some article somewhere, and I was like, ooh, that's
it will happen, but that's I mean, if they do like some at least, I think that'd be good for a cameo, but not for like a full character. But that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see our bard use some spells.
He's not a bard. I reckon he's something else.
I reckon
he's a rogue bard.
See, to me, what he was a bard, but he was a new player who didn't know how to use the extra couple of pages in his character sheet that had all the spells. He was just rolling skill checks the whole way through the movie, but he was like, oh, actually, there's this whole extra list of things he could have done.
Yeah.
The one time he remembers he can do a spell.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. Or he's just a fighter specifically that's just really good at like,
performance checks.
Performance.
Yeah.
Well, someone said was it a tavern brawler or whatever. Like that was the other theorized class for him.
Tavern brawler. Absolutely. I don't know how long these go for, but we are coming up to an hour.
Yeah, we usually do around about an hour. So
yeah.
I guess so like sell Questbook before we leave and go.
Sell it to me. I'll take it off your hands.
Yeah.
How much? Plane tickets, the whole crew, Misfits, flying down.
Flying down.
We'll go on a cruise, Questbook cruise. We'll get you all on a boat.
Lord of the Rings tour.
And we need to flip this around. Anyone in the US who would like to have a one-on-one conversation with us, we are available to be flown over to the US to come and see you.
There you go. Reversing it. Yeah, okay.
Uno reverse card.
Like obviously we are keen to interact with anyone globally, domestically, like anyone who's interested in either, if you want to get into a campaign, if you want to join a campaign that occurs every week without you having to organize it at the time that the campaign has been booked to occur every single week over and over again, with most of the players showing up every week and it running no matter what, then definitely join the Questbook campaign. We found that's just one of the weird, once you start paying for something, you get a much better attendance rate than otherwise. And so, yeah, if you're keen for a campaign that you can just sign up to and know that it's going to occur, you just want to be able to rock up and play 3 hours of really good D&D or one of the other games that are on offer, then we're the service for you. But yeah, if you are keen to get involved with us in any way, shape, or form, reach out to Jack, info@questbook.nz, and we can either find the game that's right for you or talk to you further about how you'd like to engage with us. We're keen to keep growing.
Exactly, as I'm sure everyone knows out there, organizing games is the hardest part of being in this community, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And if you don't want that, if you want to value your time more and just let someone else do all the organizing, these are the blokes to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I say as well is that we've built a company off of like the hardest thing to do in the world. Like you see all those memes out there. It's like a genie asking, "Oh, like what would you want?" It's like, "Oh, like a consistent game of tabletop role playing games." That okay, something real. What do you really want? And we're like, okay, well, let's do that, and like let's do that. I don't know how many. We've got like nearly 100 concurrent players at the moment.
Yeah, so weekly on average about 100 players. So that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah,
sort of genie happening, genie wishes coming true.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
And hey, I'm a GM, so I'm there.
Yeah. Yes.
You want to voice actor that GMs.
Yeah. It's online, so all over the world if you want to play. It's online too, as well as in person. So
online
apply now.
Apply now.
If you've watched movies that have New Zealand sense of humour in them and you've decided you quite like that, then definitely one of our GMs is the GM for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really love Jamie Clement. Oh, Taika Waititi. Oh, that's so good. Let's get one of the GMs.
Yeah. That's exactly. Every single one of us is exactly the same New Zealander.
Same sense of humour.
You don't need to worry about that. Same sense of humour.
Yeah.
We're all the same.
Yep. They just come out of assembly.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, we created it on a mass. Yeah. Right, say the line. Supper.
Get him in there. Get him on.
Get my fish and chops.
Yeah. So,
that's good. That's better than my
Thank you.
I can't do one.
You sure you're Australian?
No, I'm gonna do it.
Thank you so much for having us on, though. We really
thank you very much, Jack and Dion.
To talk to you guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll sign off here, and thank you, audience. And go check out the Questbook peeps.
Thanks for all the questions.
Bye, everyone.
Check them out.
Everybody. Thank you.
Bye.